Hello, I'm Glen. This is Under-Articulated, where I go without a script and fumble my lines constantly. A long time ago, we made a video called What Could Replace Build-A-Figures? And in that video, I listed off a bunch of hypothetical figures that could be in a Captain America wave. And one of the comments in particular really liked just that portion of the video. So with Spider-Man Brand New Day coming out in a couple of months, I think, I thought, let's put together a hypothetical Spider-Man wave using my collect and erect concept. My pitch was a combination of, if people remember DC Universe Classics, there was a line called All-Stars that was basically an evergreen wave of A-list characters that was always available. And then I combined that with the pre-existing idea of tying characters together with accessories. And before I go on to the accessories and the collect and erect piece, I want to establish some limits that either a license, Disney as the license holder, or a marketing team might impose on the designers. When you're choosing the characters in the wave, they should all fit the Spider-Man theme, right? But there should be some variety in the character selection themselves. There should be a supporting character. There should be a villain, one ally, one, in Spider-Man's case, a Spider-Verse variant, one female character, at least one non-white character. And they should all be from different eras of Marvel Comics. And they should be bodily diverse, simply for the practical reason you can't really use two molds at the same time if you're mass-producing figures. And for my money, I'm going to throw in at least one obscure character. So... oh, shit. So let's start with the first figure. Obviously, Spider-Man, the anchor character. This is going to be Spider-Man in his most iconic, most recognizable look. Personally, I would say that's in the 1960s, 1970s John Romita Sr. era. And basically what we're going to do is take the maximum Spider-Man and pare it way the hell down. Cost reduce it as much as possible. First, we're going to change the web density on the character to reduce it down to something that's a little cheaper to mass produce. And then we're going to change some of the bigger flaws from that original Maximum series release. The spider insignia on the back of the character, when you articulated the shoulders forward, or the butterfly joints, two of the arms on the back of the spider symbol would extend outward. So we're just going to shrink that down a little bit so that doesn't happen. And then next, we're going to basically change the lower torso articulation so that the pattern of the web belt doesn't ride up the back when crunching the figure forward. That's going to have to be resculpted into basically a ball joint at the waist. So let's say this version of Spider-Man comes with fists and thripping hands. Every figure should come with an accessory to represent the character's abilities or powers. So in this case, easy for Spider-Man, a web line. And then before we get to the collect and erect piece, I want to move on to the next character because they're going to directly tie into each other. This next character is going to be a modern version of the Spot. Spot's pretty easy. He's basically a blank body, which means he would be perfect on either the Vulcan mold or maybe the upcoming Secret Wars Daredevil mold. The good thing about doing a modern Spot is that he tends to be drawn with fewer tiny black spots. So ultimately there's going to be less deco hits and it should prove a little cheaper. Spot is going to come with fists and he's going to come with C-grip hands because he is going to be gripping his spots. But it's not going to be a perfectly flat spot. It's going to be a spot that is a little bit convex for a peg, and what that peg is for will be apparent in a second. Now, because Spot is mostly a blank body, we're going to do something interesting with the actual head. First, the alternate head is going to be a classic portrait from his first appearance, 1970s, whatever that is. But we're going to treat the face on the main head basically as a face plate for a couple of different reasons. One, you can have the standard faceplate that is solid black. And you can throw in an additional faceplate that isn't a new sculpt, but it has, his two eyes. The collect and erect piece, that piece that connects Spot with another character in the same wave, is going to be another faceplate. A faceplate that is cast in all black, but is recessed to fit the form of our classic Spider-Man figure. Now, going back to our anchor Spider-Man character's collect and erect piece, he is going to come with an alternate head for Spot, with Spider-Man's fist pegged into the side in sort of an action, getting punched pose. And because Maximum Spider-Man's forearms can be removed, then we can attach one of Spot's spots to that forearm. Now, for our third character, this is going to be a 1990s character. It's going to be female. It's going to be a villain. And it is mostly reuse. This is going to be Lady Octopus. The closest limbs that we can find to Lady Octopus's armor are probably going to be Lilandra's. Now, she will definitely need a new torso for the octopus star design and how we're going to connect the tentacles to the upper torso. Now, this is Lady Octopus with the pink hair, so the alternate head is going to be something closer to a more modern look, something akin to Spider-Verse. Now, of course, she comes with fists and maybe those generic splayed hands that all the ladies come with. And we're actually going to forego a collect and erect piece for this release because Lady Octopus is going to reuse the bendy tentacle pieces that were in the VHS 2-pack with Dr. Octopus and Aunt May. And that means people will have a far cheaper way of getting those bendy tentacles for all their other Doc Ocks that didn't have them for a cheap price. Meaning someone like me will buy multiples just for the arms alone. But let's say marketing really thinks there should be a collect and erect piece. We're going to do something simple. We are going to include the harness and goggles to make our anchor Spider-Man character into Spider-Puss, Octopus Spider-Man. That guy in the 90s animated series. And we're going to be evil and not include any more bendy tentacles because we want you to buy 2 Lady Octopuses. So, fourth character. Now, this is where it sort of ties into Spider-Man Brand New Day, because in the teaser trailer that we saw, there is a brief shot of the hand and what looks to be a female character leading the hand, and a lot of people have speculated that this might be the reintroduction of Elektra back into the MCU. So our fourth character is going to be a classic 1980s character, not a supporting character, but an ally of Spider-Man, and it's going to be pretty much 100% a repaint. It's going to be Elektra on the Psylocke body, with both heads from the Daredevil Bullseye 3-pack. Now, Elektra is going to come with the pre-existing fists and Psy-holding hands, and the collect and erect pieces is interesting, because Spider-Man and Elektra don't interact too much in the comics. They did have one crossover comic, but there's nothing really connecting the two that is particularly toyetic. However, in the tutorial for Marvel's Snap, your Spider-Man card has to face off against your opponent's Elektra card. What could be an interesting collect and erect piece is maybe to avoid having to pay licensing fees to Marvel Snap, maybe a generic Spider-Man trading card at scale with Marvel Legends. Could be a fun way of showing off the increased resolution of the inkjet printing process. Alternatively, in the early 2000s, there was a Spider-Man Daredevil crossover comic. And the 4th issue, cover art by Alex Ross, has Peter is unmasked, but the design of his mask is painted on his face. That could be a fun alt head that tangentially connects Elektra in the Daredevil universe to Spider-Man. Character number 5. This is again going to be a classic look from the 1970s. This is an ally, not a supporting character. He's going to be non-white and technically obscure. This is going to be Blade before he was a Dhampir. And I say that specifically because modern Blade, at least how it was originally told, he got his vampiric powers from a bite from Morbius, who is obviously a Spider-Man, maybe not villain, but antagonist. So that's the connective tissue. So this is going to be basically another repaint, the Beyonder body. But we're actually going to take some inspiration from another character. I believe he was a clone of Blade that was actually a vampire. He had a belt across his jacket that we are going to adopt into the design of this figure, so we can extend the look of the open chest jacket that Beyonder already has. So he's going to come with the original head with the big hair and goggles. The alternate head is actually going to be the clone head. So technically that is two characters, and some insane person might buy two to display both at the same time. To represent his powers, he's not really going to have much aside from the stakes that have already been created for the Mindless One Blade release. And it's going to come with his signature golden knife blade thing. The Collect and Erect piece. There was a comic in, I want to say 2006, and I want to say in the very first issue, Blade fought Spider-Man, but a vampiric version of Spider-Man, who only lasted a couple of panels, and then Blade says, oh, he's got radioactive blood, so he'll be fine. But a vampiric Spider-Man head would go nicely with our anchor Spider-Man character. The sixth and final character. This character is going to be from the 1990s. He's going to be a villain. He's going to be a Spider-Verse variant, technically. And he's going to be on a bigger body, the Omega Red body. And he's not going to require much new sculpt because he's mostly a naked body. This is going to be Spider-Side. So for the sake of saving budget, he's going to come with pre-existing fists. And we're going to combine the alternate hands with the accessory that displays his powers. He'll come with an enlarged hand that he can use to grab other characters such as Ben Reilly. One of the more interesting aspects of Spider-Side's design is that his mouth is built into his mask. On the default head, maybe it doesn't show, or maybe the outline is visible. But on the alternate head, he should be probably smiling or opened mouth. And the Collect and Erect piece is actually not going to tie into any of the characters in this wave. But a couple of Spider-Man Retro waves ago, we got a cane, which did not come with an unmasked head. Our Spider-Side is going to correct that and come with an unmasked head for Kane. That would be an excellent bonus if it could fit on our Anchor Spider-Man figure 2, and you could just make him another clone. And that pretty much wraps up the wave. We were a little conservative when it came to the reuse for all of the characters in this wave. They all use existing bodies with pretty limited new sculpts. So, I don't know what their new mold budget is, but if there's room left in the budget, maybe we could get a totally brand new sculpted character. And normally, I am against that, personally. We see it all the time from Marvel Legends, where one character will get all the love, and other characters will not get the tooling that they desperately need to be interesting action figures. But I want to suggest this character because I think this is a hyper-specific mold that can be reused, by my count, 3 times. Or twice. So this alternate figure is technically a supporting character. It's a Spider-Verse variant. All new, 2010s era. It's Spider-Man, the second Spider-Man. The version of Spider-Man that is completely made up of a hive of spiders. That might be a little too hard to sculpt. So if you pull back a little bit, just go a little more generic, I feel like you could reuse that kind of body for characters like Swarm, like first appearance Iceman, when it looks like he's literally just covered in snow. So this release would probably just include fists and sort of gripping hands like the recent Secret Wars Iceman, so that you can reuse the snowball accessory for first appearance Iceman that of course you would make from this mold. And then maybe in lieu of creating the specific spiders on the body themselves, maybe you could have some clip-on pieces that are distinctly spiders. And of course, with Swarm, you could clip on distinctly bees, and with Iceman, you don't clip on anything because he's snow. Collect and erect piece. Spider-Man is a name that is reused from the early 2000s Earth X story, and that's going to be our connective tissue for this character. Our collect and erect piece is going to be an Alex Ross Spider-Man portrait that can fit on our anchor Spider-Man character. And that does it. As a quick wrap-up, we have our anchor Spider-Man figure. We have a modern version of Spot. We have a 90s version of Lady Octopus. We have a 1980s version of Elektra. We have a 1970s version of Blade. And we have another 1990s version of Spider-Side with a substitute 2010s era Spider-Man. If you have any of your own ideas for a wave of Spider-Man characters or any themed wave that follow this collect and erect rules and regulations, feel free to sound them off in the comments. I'd love to read them. Subscribe if you want. Don't hit the bell. Bell's annoying. I don't want to be notified for new videos like this. And of course, if you liked the video, go ahead, give me a thumbs up. If you didn't like the video, give me a thumbs down. I don't know if I can see that anymore, but I can at least look at the percentage ratio. I'm Glenn, and this is Under Articulated. Thank you for watching. I apologize if I still sound nasally. I'm still trying to recover from a 4-day cold. I don't know if anyone's seen, but the Rizzler is very big into Marvel Legends, and I find it genuinely charming. And in turn, the Rizzler has inspired me to start making these kinds of videos again.